Hello and welcome to the Guitar Collection. I am here today with one of the most special instruments I've ever held in my life. And I promise I don't say that about just every guitar, but I am very fortunate. This guitar here is made by the very famous French luthier Daniel Friederich in the year 1994. This is, of course, a cedar top guitar. You can tell from the color, with Indian rosewood back and sides, Rogers tuners, 52 millimeter nut, 650 scale, all the standard specs. And of course, this is his concert model, which is numbered. That separates it from some of his other models that he experimented with in his earlier years. Enough of the nerdy details. We got to get into the sound of this guitar and a little bit of the history. When you start to get to know the sound of this guitar and you're playing it and you hear these basses, you really start to hear all the recordings, all your favorite recordings that you heard on Daniel Friederich guitars, whether it's Alvaro Pierri or Roberto Alcel or Agnello Desiderio, all the many people who've recorded on these instruments. You start to hear a little bit of those recordings, even though you are not that player, right? And that's what really makes this guitar so special. And you sort of realize, oh, that's the sound that I was looking for, that I fell in love with, that I was always hunting. So it's a real treat to play this guitar. And I think what separates a lot of Daniel Friederich instruments, and especially this one, is that it doesn't sound overly cedar. It's got a lot of the beautiful characteristics of a spruce top guitar too, and that the trebles really sparkle, there's a huge tonal palette, and that it's really well balanced. Sometimes, especially Spanish cedar top guitars, might have like a really great punch in the bass, but sometimes the trebles are a little bit lacking. They don't have the sparkle that you really, the sparkle or the sustain that you really need sometimes with our repertoire. And this guitar really has it all. When I experiment with sounds, like that clip you heard at the beginning of the Barrios. It sounds so good over the neck of the guitar here. But it also sounds so great here. And it's got that growl and that sparkle that a spruce top guitar has, but it's just really marvelous. So I'm going to play some examples for you here so you can hear some different ranges on this instrument and some melody in the treble and bass. But I just want to give you a little brief overview of this guitar. A little bit about this history. This guitar, for a very long time, was owned by one person who bought it directly from Daniel Friederich himself. And the only mark that this guitar has on it is this little dark area that you can see here, which is not a dent. It is actually just a stain in the wood from a polish cloth that had a little bit of polish on it being left on the top of the guitar inside of its case for many years, and it ate through the finish there. That is the only thing. And it was touched up by a really great guitar restorationist who's known for handling these instruments. So really great having the comfort there, that it wasn't just like sprayed over or something that you'll see sometimes on old guitars, which is a big bummer to say the least. This guitar has no cracks, no repairs, nothing coming off or separating that needs addressing. It is really in mint condition, and that's what makes this guitar super rare. It sounds great, it looks great. Sometimes you come across really great sounding Daniel Friederich guitars, but they're torn up, from just seeing the road, from being banged around, tossed around. This guitar is pristine, it sounds open, has a huge open voice. And just tons of sustain, yet it's in pristine condition. So some other little features that you ought to see on this guitar, at least take a look at and notice. Of course, his iconic rosette here. It is really spectacular, and you can see this yellowish green color in the wheat that goes around the rosette there. It's just so beautiful. Of course, the headstock, which appears to be a Brazilian rosewood plating. And of course, you can see the iconic figuring that he does on the headstock. Of course, I said they are Rogers tuners, which are spectacular, but I also have the original Fustero tuners. And aside from that, it is a really playable guitar. So, we've talked a lot about the sound, but something that people often complain about, at least peers of mine are used to very modern guitar necks that are a bit thinner, is that Daniel Friederich guitars are difficult to play because of the neck. And the necks are varying sizes over the years from Friederich. This one is, I would say, an average thickness. It's certainly thicker than the modern guitar neck, but something that really surprised me was just how nicely my hands work on this guitar. I feel very comfortable on it, and the action is set up to be just below 4 millimeters on the 6th string and just below 3 millimeters on the 1st, with actually plenty of room to adjust on the saddle down here, the bone saddle. So you get a really low action, it's super playable, and it really doesn't bother me at all. I've measured some things on this guitar to see why my right hand feels so comfortable on it. I think it just has to do with the dimensions of the plantilla of this guitar and where my arm rests on it, but I feel unusually comfortable on this instrument. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get to playing some musical passages on this guitar. If you're interested in this instrument or instruments like it, whether it's an older instrument, newer instrument, modern, double top, lattice brace, fan brace, you name it, I've got it. And if I don't have it now, I always have new instruments coming in. So definitely check out guitarcollection.com and the different social media platforms that you'll see in the description that you can follow me on. I also have a list on the website that if you sign up for it, you'll get notified about new guitars that I have in before anyone else will. So that might be a nice opportunity for you. But regardless, even if you're just interested in hearing this guitar, I hope you've enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.